Come on, relax and just enjoy the show. We got you here on Straight Talk. Don't be lying, yes, you already know. We got you here on Straight Talk, yeah. We got you grooving. Let us know how you doing. We keep it live right here on Straight Talk. Riccardo Montgomery.
Welcome to the Straight Talk with your boy Riccardo Montgomery, aka the voice of the gospel community. Hanging out with you on this day the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Thank you for tuning in to us right here on AM 660 in Omaha and 106.7 in Lincoln, the Heartland's Christian voice. And I'm your host, your guide, your best friend, your cousin, your nephew, your road dog, all those great things, Riccardo Montgomery. And it is June, and it's Music Appreciation Month. Also Juneteenth, and can't forget Father's Day. Yeah, you go out there and get your dad something, man. Get your dad something, the mentor, the man figure, God, daddy figure, all these things. Go get him something, man. Make the man feel good. Don't buy him no barbecue grill to make him work either. Get him something that he's gonna enjoy. Let him relax a little bit. But it's today we're kicking off our discussion right here of the history of gospel/Christian music right here in Omaha, and I have two very special guys coming in the studio with me, and I'm looking forward to having this great conversation with them. But I just want to say, I've been around the city, and I've seen of some very talented musicians here. But I wonder, why haven't some of these guys and girls just haven't been noticed? Like, how come? Why are they still here in Omaha? Like, they should be on the big stage, national spotlight and all this stuff. And with so many opportunities to be discovered, such as our open mics, our concerts, events like Live Loud, which will be happening this Saturday. They're having a big thing over there at Salem Baptist Church. I keep questioning, what are we doing wrong here in Omaha? What's missing? Can Omaha be the land of milk and honey and no one knows it? So correct me if I'm wrong, but back in the late 70s, Miss Dorothea Wade was the minister of music at Salem Baptist Church. They had the gospel music legend of Reverend James Cleveland come here. They recorded a classic song, which is I Don't Feel No Ways Tired. And with all the choirs here in the city, it still mind-boggling me that how come Omaha wasn't put on that, still isn't on that national stage. I mean, you have, I'm sure there are some members of the Mississippi Mass that has broke off from the choir, went and did some solo songs, made a hit or two. But how come we are missing out on this here in Omaha? So that's why I brought these gentlemen in, because I want to know the history of it, man. I don't know the history because I haven't been here, but I know it's a deep-rooted history. So I want y'all to welcome to Straight Talk, Dr. Thompson, Dr. Franklin Thompson, right?
Yes, I'm glad to be here with the road dog.
Yes, sir. And Mr. Alan Black.
Alan T. Black. I am overjoyed and honored to be here with Dr. Thompson, my close friend, and, of course, the man himself, Riccardo Montgomery.
I appreciate that, fellas. I really do. But I'm more so happy to be here with you because you guys, we can dive into this history of music here in Omaha. There's so much talent in this city. And have the national stage, and that's it. We just get that one shot. So let's talk about the history of gospel music. Let's just talk about it. Let's go back to the 70s when you guys kind of know it, young, very young men, way younger than myself right now. Young, scrappy young men, with afros. And did y'all have afros then?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
I had a kicking afro.
You had a kicking afro. What's a kicking afro? It's like the
perfect.
Oh, okay.
Perfectly round.
Perfectly round, like
right.
Okay.
Right.
The one that everybody want,
I thought I was Sly Stone.
Okay. So during that time, the scene is hot. It's going on. Reverend James Cleveland's in Omaha. You got the hit out there. It's Grammy nominated. Omaha is on the map. Late 70s. What happened after that?
Well, I think when you look back at the history of that particular moment in time, for me, and this is going to sound weird or eclectic, but I'm not going to apologize for it. There is what I call the morning after. And Riccardo and Dr. Thompson, what I mean by that is, okay, in the moment of the recording, I don't feel no way tired, and the exuberance and the excitement of that moment. That's all well and good. But then there is, again, looping back the morning after. And what I mean by that is, where do we go from there? Which alludes back to what you were talking about. What happens afterwards? Now, as far as I'm concerned, that moment was historical. There's no two ways about it. But there has to be follow-up. There has to be sustainability. And there has to be in place some type of projected plan to go from A to B to C. Mm-hmm. And so I think in that particular circumstance, the A part went well, but with B and C, that's where perhaps the inconsistency did not really ring true, because my involvement as far as the music side has always been on the business side, which worked with Dr. Thompson on. He taught me those things, and I kind of took it to the level I could. The business side is, okay, you have this product. What are you going to do with it? That gets into when you're talking about, say, a hot gospel song. Yes, it can be heard. Now, keep in mind, this is the 70s. This is pre-internet, things like that. But are you able to get it to the gospel announcers around the country? Are you able to get it to gospel movers and shakers who may have, say, programs that you can plug into? Can you get television exposure? All of those things fall into the realm of the marketing and the publicity side of what you're going to do with a song. It doesn't matter if it's hip hop, R&B, country, or gospel. You have to have that morning after plan where you then say, yeah, this is hot, but what am I going to do with it?
Part of that morning after plan is to have the capital investment and to keep it rolling. And in other locales, you will have investors standing on the sideline saying, this is good, this is worthy, I want to invest in it. And for Omaha, for Black Omaha, one of the problems with Black Omaha is that we have to stand by ourselves and then there's no backing. At that particular time, we needed someone with funding, someone with the capital to say, let's keep this going, and we didn't have that. So it was talented people trying their best, but not always knowing what the next step is, and then those people who knew what the next step should be was not stepping up. Omaha has a curious history with its human and race relations, and it shows up not only in the gospel area, but also in many other areas.
All right. You know what? I feel like we get into something that the artists of today really needs to hear, because you're talking about not only just having a song, but how to get it out to the people, where it needs to be at with the people, and like a whole lot of different other things that can help get you onto a national stage. But you got to follow these steps.
Yes. And
these steps will never change. We're going to take a quick break. You know what I'm going to do, fellas? I'm going to throw it back real quick. We're going to play No Ways Tied real quick. Then we'll take a break and come right back, and we're going to dive more into this history of gospel music, because I like where you guys are going. I like this, man. It's way better than I thought it was going to be. We'll be right back with more Straight Talk in a minute.
Hi, I'm Will Stephanie, founder of Oracle Insurance Agency. I'd like to welcome you to our family-owned agency. And with our agency, we like to treat you like family. We're currently at our Omaha location. We have 2 other locations, one in Gilbert, Arizona, also one in Rapid City, South Dakota. Our unified goal as agency is to build a relationship with our clients and be a positive light in the communities we serve. As your independent agency, our mission is to be your calm in the storm with all that happens in insurance. We do that by finding out about what keeps you up at night and find solutions to help you sleep soundly, knowing that you have things taken care of and protected if that storm were to hit. Secondly, we also like keeping up with your changing needs by making sure your coverages are up to date with the best carrier for the best price. That's the benefit of being with an independent agency like Oracle Insurance. Give us a call so we can get to know you and see how we can help protect you from those storms.
It's like we start our day off with Jesus Christ. We kind of set our minds.
Welcome to the all-new Straight Talk with your boy, Riccardo Montgomery. Send me your music videos for all the independent artists out there. Would love to play it right here on this show. Just send it to straighttalk873@gmail.com. I'm your boy, Riccardo Montgomery, and we're here for you to get all your music out there to the world. So let's do it. Send it to me. I got you.
Straight talk, Riccardo Montgomery.
I got a smile on my face. Welcome back to the show. Man, welcome back to the Look, if y'all want to hear some good knowledge for all the musicians out there, if you want to hear some really good things to help you get another step ahead, this is the platform you need to listen to. This is the show you need to listen to, because we got some guys in here who knows the history, got the wisdom, and can help you get to that next phase. So welcome back to the show, Mr. Alan Black, Dr. Thompson, hanging out with us. We're talking about the history of gospel music. So let's go past. We went past Reverend James Cleveland, Salem's Church. Now we on this spectrum of gospel music is changing a little bit, because gospel music go through its phase, right? Now we're shrinking the choirs, and we're going to a different kind of style, which is contemporary gospel.
Yes.
But that ain't rocking with us here in Omaha at that time, right?
No, it was not.
Yeah, so tell us why wouldn't that rock with us? How come we're singing about God, which should be all that matters? But
Culturally, Omaha has always been about 15 years behind New York or behind LA. And so gospel music here was choir music. It was James Cleveland. And if you did anything else, then it wasn't real gospel. So even a national artist like let's say Andre Crouch was not appreciated here like it would have been in Washington, D.C. And so when Alan and I came out with contemporary, they looked at us like we had horns or tails growing, you know. But we were just ahead of our time.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like how Christian hip hop when they first started. Like,
well, in a way, it's ironic, because when you talk about, say, Christian hip hop, for Dr. Thompson and I, was this 83, 84, somewhere in there?
83.
It was 83. So around about 83, kind of piggybacking on what he's talking about, jumping out there and going into a whole new direction, we actually did a song called Rapping for Jesus. I was a lyricist on it. Dr. Thompson did the music and everything, and that was actually played here on KCRO in 83. That was the first Christian rap song that we know about that was played here in Omaha, or maybe even the state of Nebraska.
It was.
And like he said, they looked at us like,
what are y'all doing?
What are we doing?
Blasphemous.
It was. That's exactly how we were viewed. Because, and he won't say it about himself, but I'll say it about him. For Dr. Thompson, in terms of the vision that he had, and he and I go back to undergrad school, that's where we first met. So when he was talking about doing something different and something unique in gospel, it basically placed him on an island by himself because of the kind of approach and the vision that he had. And so that's why they were looking at him, and conversely me, like, what are y'all doing? And the irony of it is, here we are some 30, 35 years later. What's on the charts?
Yeah.
Contemporary Christian hip hop. But the one thing that I always harken back to is the fact that for those people who might throw their nose up and say, well, that's just not how it was done, we just can't do that, I would remind them of the fact that once upon a time, quartet music, when it first came out, was considered blasphemous.
Yeah.
But you adapt it, you adjust it, you accept it. So anything that's new and innovative in the initial stages is going to be viewed as being something that is completely foreign. And for a lot of people, I think it's frightening. It takes them out of their box, and they're not used to that.
There are 4 people in Nebraska that pioneered contemporary music. In Lincoln, it was Eugene. What's Eugene's last name? I'll think of it in a minute. And then the Hope Singers, led by Joe McBee. And then here in Omaha, it was Gus McNair and then myself. And all 4 groups in Nebraska faced that kind of scrutiny. But we kept going and we kept going. And Eugene Warren was his name, and from Lincoln. And we just kept going. I was the first of that foursome to get music played on the radio.
Wow. So how hard was it to get music on the radio?
That goes back to what I call the morning after effect, because again, when we were really rolling in the 80s and the 90s, we recognized the fact that, okay, you can have a song that's hot. It doesn't mean anything if nobody hears it.
Right.
So the morning after side is the marketing, strategic planning, networking, things of that nature. So we were actually, Sela Sound Production was the first company out of Nebraska that was able to plug into the Gospel Music Workshop of America. And so we went there, and I'll never forget the first time we went, and we told them where we're from, and they actually laughed. Like, no, y'all country, y'all don't know what y'all doing. And that's how they regarded us. But the shock was when they heard what we were doing and what we had to present, they actually kind of fell back like, oh, what is this? And they were like, y'all got black folk up there? And we get that all the time. So, but we were the ones that ushered in the era of going to the Gospel Music Workshop under the direction of Dr. Thompson, whereby when we walked in year after year, they knew who we were. Dr. Thompson's wife, Beverly Thompson, was a favorite of theirs. She used to walk into the room, Riccardo, she just owned the place. She was that good. And so, again, that gets to the marketing side of how you're going to get it out. We were the first production / record label to be invited to, in '94, I do believe, the Bobby Jones Gospel Explosion down in Miami, Florida. I went, Dolores Matthews went, Beverly Thompson went, and we came from Omaha. And Bobby Jones was like, where are you guys from? And then he heard both Dolores and Beverly minister, and he was like, wow, I'm just stunned. And so the talent has always been here. The production ability and potential is there. But again, it's that morning after effect. You have a hot product. What are you going to do with it? It doesn't mean anything if you don't do anything with it.
Now I'm going to kind of tell out of character here a little bit, but part of that story was that for a while there, the Gospel Music Workshop, we had more visibility than the choir that was coming from Nebraska. And that did not go over well because there's a tradition in town that anytime you do anything, you have to go through the traditional channels. We leapfrogged the channels and went straight to the announcers themselves. So there was a little bit of friction as to how are you guys doing this without
So you basically
kissing up to us.
so you got punished for your ambition.
Yeah.
They tried to, and they tried to minimize it, but I guess for me, just being totally transparent, I was like, okay, I'm gonna respect your position, but you're over here, you're singing, which is cool. I'm over here, I'm networking.
Yeah.
And I'm strategizing.
You're doing the business side of it.
Because I need to know who Riccardo Montgomery is if he's in Omaha, Nebraska, so I need to know how I'm going to get my product to him.
Right.
Over here on the choir side, you can't do that for me. So that was the conflict, to be honest with you. And so they were kind of like, well, I'm like, I ain't got time for y'all. because I can pick up the phone. I can call gospel announcers across the country and say, hey, Dr. Thompson has some product. Would you be interested? Yes. Because in the gospel music industry at that time, the cornerstone of how you were going to get noticed rested with the Gospel Announcers Guild. That's where you went. And so that...
And the Gospel Announcers Guild was all the radio stations.
Oh,
anybody who
everybody.
was producing gospel.
Everybody.
Record labels, everybody, right?
Record labels would literally
Right.
come in, and they were catering to the announcers.
So
You just got to get the music. You got to have the music to figure out who the artist is.
in the 1990s, they weren't playing anything by Mass Choir of Nebraska, but they were playing Beverly Thompson's Woman of God. That song got heavy rotation in New York, D.C., Washington, Atlanta.
Well, I mean, also, if you think about it, if you're a record label, it's cheaper to get a solo artist or a praise team
Right.
around the country than it is an entire choir.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So the business side of it is you got to adapt to the business side of it. So
You
it kind
have-
of makes sense.
Yeah. So again, this community needs a dual parallel track. They need that traditional track, and they need the contemporary track, and then we need people funding to keep it going, and that's what's lacking right now. The two tracks are competing too much, and the funding to keep them going that morning after is not in place. I can produce and I can write, but I need people who can do the administration and get out there and get us connected and get us into concerts and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That part is missing here in Omaha.
And that part, Riccardo, that is really the second part. If you're going to have a two-prong attack, to create the product is one thing. How you get it out there is a whole different thing. Record labels literally have still people who are doing the marketing, and what that means, and you know this, they're reaching out to announcers across the country. They're scanning the internet today, 24 hours a day, looking for that unknown artist. They're looking at how do I get my product on the platforms like Spotify. That's a full-time responsibility for a label that's going to, say, put an artist out there. So you can have the talent, but you have to have the strategic marketing plan in place to get you to the next level. And like Dr. Thompson said, you have to have that financial investor who's going to say, I'll back you and see where you can go with this.
You know, we're gonna take another quick break. We're gonna pick it back up because the financials is very important in this whole process. And you know, I want to appreciate y'all. We're talking about the history of gospel music, Christian music, right here in Omaha with Riccardo Montgomery and Straight Talk, and also we have Mr. Alan Black, Dr. Thompson. We'll be right back with more right after this. Welcome to the all-new Straight Talk with your boy, Riccardo Montgomery. Send me your music videos for all the independent artists out there. Would love to play it right here on this show. Just send it to straighttalk873@gmail.com. I'm your boy, Riccardo Montgomery, and we're here for you to get all your music out there to the world. So let's do it. Send it to me. I got you.
It's like we start our day off with Jesus Christ. We kind of set our minds.
Hi, I'm Will Stephanie, founder of Oracle Insurance Agency. I'd like to welcome you to our family-owned agency. And with our agency, we like to treat you like family. We're currently at our Omaha location. We have 2 other locations, one in Gilbert, Arizona, also one in Rapid City, South Dakota. Our unified goal as agency is to build a relationship with our clients and be a positive light in the communities we serve. As your independent agency, our mission is to be your calm in the storm with all that happens in insurance. We do that by finding out about what keeps you up at night and find solutions to help you sleep soundly, knowing that you have things taken care of and protected if that storm were to hit. Secondly, we also like keeping up with your changing needs by making sure your coverages are up to date with the best carrier for the best price. That's the benefit of being with an independent agency like Oracle Insurance. Give us a call so we can get to know you and see how we can help protect you from those storms.
Welcome back to Straight Talk with your boy Riccardo Montgomery right here on the Heartland's Christian Voice. We're talking the history of music here in Omaha, and where we left off at is we was talking about the financial side, getting into the, as you call it, the morning after. But you got to have your plans in place. You got to be organized. And one of the key things is that seems to be plaguing our music scene here in Omaha is we have the talent. But we got to work on our networking, and then we need the funding. And the funding part is where it gets kind of rough. Mm-hmm. So Omaha, it doesn't seem like it's difficult. I mean, there's like, I would say for me, living here now, but for you guys coming to where the 70s, 80s, 90s, the early 2000s, Warren Buffett wasn't just handing out all kinds of money around town. I mean, there's other people, but it's getting to these different steps. And how do you get there? How do you get the funding? Or not based on how do you get the funding, but as we go through these years, and you guys seen it, is it still difficult? To find that financial backing?
Well, God bless Warren's daughter, Susie. She does a good job when it comes to kids and education and whatever. But we need somebody to catch the vision on the gospel side. Somebody that says that the gospel talent in Omaha deserves me, investing in that side. Mm-hmm. And so right now that hasn't happened. It could still happen, but that's a piece that's missing. It's not the only piece, but it's a major piece. You will find that in Atlanta, in Washington, D.C., where there's kind of an organization and somebody kind of orchestrating the thing. And right now what you have is individuals who are talented, but they're not necessarily connected to a pipeline.
Gotcha. So so maybe we just get everybody. Well, I guess we can't, because there's still hurdles to get over with that. Trying to get people together to figure out how do we get to a certain pipeline. How do we organize this to make this something where everyone can get a piece of this pie? We need to understand the recipe, but we got to put it all together to make it right?
Well, and if you're going to cook anything, you have to have the right ingredients in there.
Right.
And so this ingredient of, say, the financial side is a key ingredient. But one of the things that is a potential alternative is, as you were alluding to, Riccardo, is there the capacity for people like-minded who are doing, say, gospel music, hip-hop, or whatever the case may be? Is there the capacity for them to sit down collectively and try to say, what is it that we can do collectively to maybe elevate ourselves? Or do we select one person to elevate, with that person saying, I'm going to reach back and then bring up the next person, that kind of thing? Now, that does require a sense of commitment to a short-term approach. It also means you're going to have a commitment to a middle and long-term approach. It also means that you're going to have to be patient, and you're going to have to be willing to say sacrifice. Those get into more intangibles that have to be internal, which are then displayed and practiced external, I think, in order to get it from, say, A to B to C. Other cities have done that as far as collectively they got together and built a platform and said, hey, look at us, look at us. And then that's what got them launched. Our challenge is, to me, is there that willingness and that desire to do that? And that's a big question, Dr. Thompson.
So the way you guys are explaining it, I'm gonna take it secular. Say, let's go with Sean Combs. When he started Bad Boy.
Yes.
He knew that Christopher Wallace would be the one that can get everything else going.
Right.
And so, in our terms, you kind of just need that one, that person who got the vision, who can see the talent and say, let's pour it into this guy or this girl, and then we can get everything else flowing.
We need a gospel Dr. Dre who will have a traditional side and a contemporary side, and then a feeder program into that entity. That's what we need for Omaha. If we get that, Omaha will take off real fast. But that organization and that capital and that vision is missing right now.
But we got to have everybody on board for the same vision.
Right.
And that seems to be, for some reason, why is gospel music or just being as a gospel Christian, why is it so difficult for us to just get together to do one specific thing that's just worship Christ?
Well, part of that, I think, comes from what is your Christian background. And what I mean by that is, okay, if someone came out of one particular denomination and this other person is from a different denomination, are you guys going to be able to get along and respect each other? I'll give you a case in point. When I was going to the Gospelmusic workshop, and Dr. Franklin told me it was going to happen. I didn't believe it until it happened. So I'm going to the workshops, and they would ask me what my background was. I told them I was a United Methodist Church, and they looked at me like I was an alien. Well, you didn't come out of a Koji church or a Baptist church? And I was like, what does that have to do with anything? Well, I just don't see how you could just know who God is. And I said, well, you're the same person I saw speaking in tongues last night, and at the restaurant an hour later, you were cussing out somebody. So what are we talking about here? So I went there quick, and they were like, well, you didn't have to say that. Well, you didn't have to say what you said.
Right.
Saying that to say this. Are we going to be able to get along and respect each other's background and say we're going to come together for a common cause as far as a vision? So that's a major problem. Because in the case of Dr. Thompson, coming out of his background, when people here in Omaha were looking at him from a non-traditional background, they thought, well, he can't be saved and he can't be this. And again, I'm thinking, well, first of all, you're not determining who's saved. And secondly, again, I saw you hit on a woman who wasn't your wife last night. Okay? So what are we talking about here? Let's keep it real. And are we going to be able to work together? Now, the gospel side and the Christian side, that's always going to be a problem because one denomination is going to perceive themselves as being better than another. And I keep thinking all of y'all stink together. We all stink together. So what are we doing here?
I once wrote a song called Mountains, and we had a giant gospel announcer here by the name of Ed Mims. He's one of the local heroes. And Ed would play the song on his morning Sunday show, but no one understood because it sounded kind of like a Kurt Franklin kind of thing back then. And he would always say, guys, there's more to this song than you think. He would actually say that on the radio, but it never caught on because it was like 20 years ahead of its time. Yeah.
It was Kirk Franklin before Kirk Franklin.
So I love the fact that when you guys tell some of the stories, that everything is like ahead of its time. It's years ahead. So when people finally catch up, like, oh, man, we missed it. But then you would think, like, people would say, okay, let's move a little. Let's keep it more progressive. Let's catch up to what's going on.
And in the case of Dr. Thompson, again, he won't say it because he's too modest. He was at least 30 years ahead of his time when he did Mountains. Because I'm a lyricist. You're listening to the lyrical content talking about not who you are on Sunday. It's about who you are the other 6 days of the week. Went over people's heads. They thought it was blasphemous again. Well, we co-wrote a song called Thinking Impaired, which is really alternative, very, very outside the box. Christian, basically, we were talking about, are you thinking impaired of how you carry out your attitudes and your behavior on a daily basis? Yeah. Again, they looked at us like we were from Venus or from Mars. Am I right, Dr. Thompson?
Yes, that's right.
So, again, we keep talking about we're going to be followers of Christ. We keep talking about we're going to love each other. But that's all well and good, but a lot of times it winds up being lip service, because when the rubber meets the road, what really happens?
What's the song, In the Army of the Lord? I'm going to treat everybody right.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute. You might want to rethink. You might want to think that over. Why don't you sing this verse right here? You leave that alone. Riccardo, sit down with this one. You stop singing right now, because you know you ain't even treat everybody right. Well, we up on time, man. But I want to thank y'all for coming on the show, man. It's really been truly a blessing. The knowledge that you guys have poured in today, really, I think is astounding. I'm going to have to extend this show on the podcast a little bit, just to dive into a lot more of what you two were saying. But I also want to challenge the people out there listening to the show right here on KCRO to support our Christian artists, no matter what they're doing, if it's stand-up comedy or hip-hop, traditional gospel, contemporary, doesn't matter. The one thing that I know from what I've heard from the late John Beasley, the stories that I've heard from him, is that he loved Omaha and Omaha loved him back. And God just want to be able to bless you all here in Omaha with just some amazing things. There's so much talent here. But, God's going to bring the big executive here. He will bring them here. But if we're not talking about the people that are the talented people here in our community, then the big name person won't know who they are. And they'll just sit in a hotel room. So spread the word. Do what you can. Show up. Help these people. And then let's get those plans in place that these gentlemen was talking about. They've been doing this for so many years. Maybe you should reach out to them. Reach out to Alan Black. Reach out to Dr. Thompson. And then tell them, like, hey, here's my plan. Here's what I have. How do I go forward? Because I'm sure they probably will not be afraid to help you get past some of the things. And the one thing that I do love about bringing them in others who know this history of music here is they know a lot. They know they've been through it all. They've seen it all. So everything that you may run into, they may be able to help you get over those hurdles.
But my prayer is that God gives you the resources and you become that person.
I agree. Amen.
Well, I'm taking this now. I got you too. So
we running right there alongside you. Then
I'm trying to help everybody else. I'm trying to let them know, like, there's some great folks here. But as we get ready to wrap the show up, man, I want to bless y'all, man, in every type of way out there. We will pray for you, all our listeners out there. Pray for these two gentlemen also, and don't forget Father's Day is around the corner, and Juneteenth. Celebrate Juneteenth, man. I'm taking a day off. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but Juneteenth is my holiday.
I like it.
That's my holiday. I'm taking a day off. There ain't no work coming out of me on that day. So y'all be blessed out there. Y'all stay prayed up, man. We'll see y'all next week right here on Straight Talk with your boy, Riccardo Montgomery. Y'all be blessed. Peace.
Come on, relax and just enjoy the show. Got you here on Straight Talk. Don't be lying, yes, you already know. We got you here on Straight Talk.